Hello, I'm Jashikins, and there's been some technical difficulties, hence you can't see my lovely face. I tried to do things normally, and for some reason, YouTube got to the point of, oh, just start the Hangout, where I broadcast. And it was like, no, we're not working today, so, this is me an hour or two later, a very defeated woman, so yeah, hopefully next time video comes out, this will be fixed. Because yeah, this is really awkward. But newer viewers, this is like the first time seeing my face. This is a sort of new location. So let's get to the video after. I just felt like I had to address the whole this. Anyways, if you're wondering, hang on. These are my usual headphones, but they don't have something that plugs into my cell phone, so this is why this weird-ass contraption is on my head today. Anyways, let's get started with the video. The Raven Speaks is a series of weekly videos about a variety of subjects. Feel free to comment below to suggest the topic for a future episode. Now this looks really even more awkward because I'm looking at the script which is on the computer screen behind me. Wow, this is... Damn my life. Anyways, Game of Thrones is a series about the political dealings in Westeros and Essos. It also shows a more realistic world than fantasy series such as Lord of the Rings. It is an anti-war war series. The series is aimed at adults and it is graphic. Animorphs is a series about 6 teenagers trying to stop the Yeerks' invasion of Earth by turning into animals. 5 of those teenagers are human, while the 6th is an Andalite who crash landed in the ocean. And that's a really long story short. It is an anti-war war series. The series is aimed at teenagers, and it does have disturbing moments. You will never look at ants the same way again. And those of you who have read Animorphs are probably shivering at that memory because, wow. While Game of Thrones started out strong, its ending left much to be desired. While Animorphs' ending wasn't perfect, it had the stronger ending. For everyone who keeps up with my Josh Reed series, I will be talking about major spoilers about the end of the Animorphs series, so yeah. That's the only reason I'm giving out a spoiler warning here, because the series finished in 2001. Part 1. Daenerys Targaryen burning King's Landing versus the Animorphs' actions during the final battle. Daenerys Targaryen ended up being a villain of Game of Thrones. In her one act of true villainy, she burned the city of King's Landing. She killed innocent women and children as well as those who had already surrendered. Innocent men also died for no other reason than they had been there that day. In previous episodes, she had lost those closest to her, either by death or they were more distant with her. So, initially she attacked the city out of pain. Afterwards, she said she had liberated the people of King's Landing and would do the same to the rest of the world. So, did she have to do such a horrible act? The bells had rung, which signaled the city's surrender. All Daenerys had to do was go to the Red Keep and get Cersei Lannister. She could have committed a lesser sin by attacking the Red Keep and spared the rest of the city. By the end of the Animorphs series, The Yeerks have dropped the secret invasion started by Idris 562, the former Vischer 1, and attacked openly. The gang had one last chance to win the war for good and save humanity. They decided to steal the Pool ship, which was on Earth due to an incident in a previous book. Long story. And use it as leverage to negotiate with the Andalites, who were okay with killing all humans to stop the Yeerks. And if you're new to the Animorphs series, yeah, genocide happens a lot. Genocide is really the Animorphs, version of the Game of Thrones incest, I guess. In this desperate time, the Animorphs had to act, and act quickly. They betrayed a longtime friend and ally who, afterwards, wanted nothing to do with any of them. They allowed the auxiliary Animorphs, disabled children chosen due to the Yeerks not being interested in them, to be slaughtered for distraction. That moment, where Jake can do nothing but watch the slaughter, is one of the most horrifying moments in the series. Let's get worse here. And to attract the attention of Esplin 9466, who was Vischer 1 at the time, Jake killed countless defenseless Yeerks. All those were despicable acts of violence, but there's a large difference between them and Daenerys' destroying King's Landing. They seem necessary, but you hope they aren't. You want the Animorphs to be the good guys, but do good guys do those things? You are not supposed to have a clear answer to the question of if the actions were morally justified. You don't even feel happy about the Animorphs finally stopping the Yeerk invasion of Earth and stopping the species from invading other planets. Part 2. Daenerys Targaryen's death versus Rachel's death. Daenerys Targaryen was always balancing between sanity and madness. She continually walked the fine line with help from her advisors. Jorah Mormont and Tyrion Lannister were the two that were most able to keep her wilder tendencies under control. That isn't to say all her most memorable decisions were only because she listened to the advice of men. But Daenerys turned down the option of killing many men under the advice of her advisors. She finally decided on madness and slaughtered the innocents of King's Landing. Afterwards, she justified her actions by saying she liberated the city and planned to do the same to the rest of the world. Daenerys was overjoyed when touching the Iron Throne. So overjoyed, in fact, that she didn't think Jon would kill her. It was a tragic end for a character who had so many good qualities. The one big downside about her turn to madness was that viewers weren't able to follow her mindset. There were enough hints that you could put theories together, but viewers never got the chance to follow the minute details of her turn to villain. Rachel from Animorphs was a girl who fought with her darker side throughout the series. All of her books broke down the tough exterior to the human underneath. She was strong for the others and willing to do things so the others had their hands clean by the end. She was the strength the other Animorphs could turn to when they had their deaths. There were many times throughout the series when she worried how much she enjoyed the fighting. In number 32, The Separation, Rachel is split into two halves so we can better see how her two sides complement each other. Some have theorized even when Rachel was put back together, she was unstable. This would explain mistakes made by the ghostwriters. Oh, Animorphs was released monthly per Scholastic's request, and one author couldn't keep up with the writing demands. Anyways, in number 48, The Return, Krayak, think devil figure in the series, long story short, tells Rachel he'll give her the power to win the war against the Yeerks as long as she kills Jake, aka her cousin. At this point in the series, she doesn't trust Jake as much and thinks she could more easily win the war without him. She eventually realizes that if she won the war against the Yeerks with Krayak's power, she would become someone she didn't recognize and so refuses. Okay, now for those of you who haven't read Animorphs, which is probably the majority of you, the Animorphs let David join their ranks and he turned on them. He was willing to sell them out to Esplin 9466, who was at that time Visher 3. Heck, he was willing to kill any Animorph as long as they were in a morph. It was the decision of the group to trap him in Ratmorph, as good people don't kill. So, back to number 48. Happy times. After Rachel refuses Krayak's offer, she is left with David, who begs her to kill him. She debates with herself whether it would be a good act to kill him or not. The series doesn't say what she decided to do and leaves the readers wondering what the correct action to take is, as well as, what was David's fate. Rachel's death comes during a suicide mission. Tom's Yeerk was going to betray the Animorphs, so Jake sent his cousin to kill his older brother. Don't worry, like in a previous book, there's patricide and matricide, no biggie. Okay, now I'm just having flashbacks. Let me start over here again. Tom's Yeerk was going to betray the Animorphs, so Jake sent his cousin to kill his older brother. She managed to succeed in that mission, but died shortly afterwards. Before she died, the Elmis, thank God-like figure in the series, again, long story short, reassured her that her life was not meaningless. Ultimately, her sacrifice meant nothing. Those who followed Tom's Yeerk were able to escape, up until the One captured them. We're not going to go into that WTF moment in this video. Daenerys Targaryen failed to fight off madness, and the turn wasn't well told. Rachel, on the other hand, succeeded in fighting off her darker side, and her battle was told in detail. It's like one thing for Daenerys to turn mad, but it's also, I want to experience the reasons. I want to have all these emotions washing over me as I see Daenerys slipping. Hopefully we may get those in the books. If good old George, actually finishes them. And once George finishes them, I'm going to read them all in one go. I'm sorry, I can't be left on a cliffhanger. I'm not that strong. Part 3. Westeros' new government versus changes on Earth. Daenerys' death caused a change in the government. Even though she had no real idea what breaking the wheel meant, her and Jon together destroyed the wheel. Though Westeros didn't turn to democracy, and when Sam suggested that, he was laughed at. Instead, North and South were split into two kingdoms. The South was ruled by Bran Stark, and future kings would not be decided on by lineage. The North was ruled by Sansa Stark, who would most likely keep the same form of government as before. And for some reason, there's still a Night's Watch. There are theories about its existence at the end of the series, and nothing is confirmed. Not even if North or South is in control of it. In Animorphs, there are changes due to everyone knowing aliens are real and the fierce war that had taken place over the course of 3 years. Axe, the Andalite Animorph, had previously predicted Andalites vacationing on Earth just to morph humans and eat our cuisine. Andalites don't have mouths and find the human sense of taste overwhelming, almost like a drug. This ends up happening. The Andalites allow humans to have a morphing cube for military use. Jake ends up leading a class on how to morph. The Yeerks are allowed to become trapped in morph. There are other changes, but I haven't mentioned those species previously, so to anyone not aware of Animorphs, saying Hork-Bajir or Taxon will mean nothing. Both series end with government changes. This is the only part where the two series are on even ground. Except Animorphs doesn't have a useless character like Bran in a high-ranking position. Seriously, it's like out of nowhere, Ran. It's like, oh, and so it's like, oh, there's foreshadowing. See, there's a raven on the Iron Throne where Ned's sitting. Like in this promo pic, it's like that's a listen. If there was foreshadowing like that, and Bran's storyline revolved around, leadership, then I go like, okay, it doesn't really make sense, but I can see what you're trying to do here. It's Bran, it's fucking Bran. This is gonna fucking break me. Part 4. The Price of War. For Game of Thrones, I'm going to look at the fates of the remaining Starks. Sansa Stark becomes Queen of the North and keeps the North independent. She always wanted to become queen, and so she ends up getting what she wants. She is happy with her outcome. Arya Stark is able to see what is west of Westeros and fulfills her desire of adventure. Yeah. we're not commenting on that in this video. She is happy with her outcome. Jon Snow goes beyond the wall to live with the wildlings. He doesn't have to be king, and the North has always been his true home. He is happy with his outcome. Bran Stark is Bran Stark is king of the Six Kingdoms. His plotlines never revolved around ruling, but he does seem happy about his outcome. He did go to King's Landing just to be made king. So yeah, that happened. The books are promised to end bittersweet, but the show didn't fulfill that promise. I was sad when it ended, but that was the same kind of sadness I felt when Pretty Little Liars ended. Yes, folks, I loved Pretty Little Liars. It was a horribly written show, but it was fun. Oh, God. Now everyone's points about me have totally changed. Now, to see a real bittersweet ending, let's turn to Animorphs. Animorphs number 53, The Answer, details the final battle against the Yeerks. Animorphs number 54, The Beginning, finishes up the final battle, and its major focus is on what happened after the dust settled. Rachel died, and eventually her body was found, and there was a funeral held for her. Tobias attended briefly to fly away with her urn. Tobias had been trapped in red-tailed hawk morph since the end of the first book. It wasn't until number 13, The Change, that the Elements gave him back that ability. After the loss of Rachel, he lived life fully as a hawk. He was not happy about this, as he wanted to spend the rest of his life with Rachel. He would have even given up the morphine ability for good to live a full human life with her. Jake was overcome with depression as he second-guessed all of his decisions. He was able to think, what if, and wondered if every action was one that had to be taken. He even recalls killing the defenseless Yeerks in the previous book and remembers loathing them. Because he's changed so much during the war, Cassie leaves him. This is not the outcome he wanted. Eventually, he gets to teach a special unit on how to morph. Cassie has the happiest ending. She is the only one to truly move on, and canonically the only Animorph to survive. But I'm only covering what happened after the war with the Yeerks for this video, because, yeah, the one could have an entire video on its own. Yeah. Marco gets all that he wanted the entire series. He has a lot of money, mansions, women, and fame. He is happy about his outcome at first. As the years go on, he realizes something is missing. There is a hole inside of him that nothing can fill. Axe spent so much time with humans that he doesn't belong with his own species anymore. So he also didn't get the outcome he wanted. He was changed too much during the war. Finally, the Animorphs didn't keep in contact with one another. Tobias is mad at Jake. Jake and Cassie broke up and aren't talking with each other. Marco is the only one to talk to Jake. Axe is too far away to talk with them anymore. One tragedy of war is that connections that seem so strong during the conflict can easily fall apart afterwards. Animorphs does a much better job at showing the devastating after effects of war. Game of Thrones does a great job at showing the devastation during the war, but not so much after. And really, the fact that a war can end but it still feels like it continues is one of the tragedies. So, what are your opinions? I'm wondering actually how many of you had only seen Animorphs as, oh, this crazy book series of, silly book covers of children morphing into animals, and like, oh, it's no biggie, and then you hear me go, oh yeah, here's all this they have PTSD, and here's all this horrifying shit, and like, what the fuck? So I'm wondering, if your opinions on Animorphs has changed after hearing that. Oh, before we go, I just want to say, if you are going to check out the Animorphs series, don't do the Animorphs TV series. The tone and lore are really completely different between the two. So it's like, read the books first, and if you want some like 90s cheese, ta-da, there you go. But anyways, also, if you have watched Game of Thrones and read Animorphs, which one do you think had the better ending? And also, which one do you think went for a much darker ending? Because they can be two separate things. You might be like, oh, I like a happier ending, or and don't like a sadder ending. So that's why I'm splitting that into two. And I hopefully next time shit will be worked out, because this was really awkward. I mean, I actually kept off filming because I'm like, I'm not doing this. Then I broke down. It's like, oh, this is my life now. If you're watching this on the YouTubes, please like this video if you sympathize with me for the whole technical difficulties. And also, please subscribe. I do the Raven Speaks weekly. And, you can help with the series by commenting down below and suggesting topics for future episodes. I had another viewer suggestion, but I really wanted to do this video now while, the ending is still fresh in everyone's mind for Game of Thrones. So, if you don't want to miss any the Raven Speaks videos, which won't just be Game of Thrones, which won't just be Animorphs, subscribe. And if you're watching this on my bloggity blog and watching on the desktop version of my bloggity blog, please choose the follow by email option. So you will never again miss out on a lovely video or well-written posts by me. I just don't do these lovely The Raven Speaks where there's been technical difficulties and I also do long posts, there's bits of fan fiction, and I will hopefully begin starting a new short little fan fiction tomorrow, which will be my only RPF fan fiction because I should like a really rare pair, and there's like I think three fics of that pairing that are small ones like Smud. One's a short one that's cute and fluffy, and the other one's written in Portuguese, which I don't speak because, I'm a white American and I can only learn one language. But yeah. And yeah, that'll be it. This embarrassment. So hopefully you guys can stick around so I will persevere. I will get through this. Bye. Oh shit! I was using the mouse to click stop, and I was like, oh. I'm still in denial.